Okay, so let's get right into it. We're talking about one of the most haunting novels of the 20th century, a book that's a total philosophical puzzle, Albert Camus' The Stranger. And man, it kicks off with one of the most famous and, frankly, unsettling opening lines in all of literature.
Right from the jump, you're just thrown. The main character, this guy Marcel, shows zero grief. None. Just this chilling, weird detachment. This isn't just setting a scene, it's basically throwing down a gauntlet, challenging everything you think you know about how a grieving son is supposed to act.
And that's really the question that's going to drive this whole explainer, right? Who is this guy? Is he some kind of monster, a total outcast, or something else entirely? Let's play detective and start piecing together the clues, because Meursault is one heck of an enigma.
Our investigation, if you will, starts right at the beginning of the book, with his mother's death. This is our first real glimpse into his character, and let me tell you, what we find is, it's unsettling.
So picture this. He's at his own mother's vigil, but he's not acting the part. He doesn't want to see her body. He's just drinking coffee, smoking a cigarette. He even says he was just tired and sleepy. No tears, no sadness. He's just not playing the role that everyone, society itself, expects him to play.
And right there, that's the core conflict of the whole novel. You see, for Meursault, reality is all about physical stuff. The sun's too hot, I'm tired. But for society, it's all about emotional performance. You're supposed to weep, you're supposed to mourn. And get this, the very next day, he goes for a swim with a new girlfriend. To him, it's just another day. But to everyone else, it's proof that he's a monster.
Okay, so now we get to the big one. This is the moment that changes everything, the one that seals his fate, the murder on the beach. But Camus doesn't frame it as a crime of passion or revenge or anything like that. No, it's something way, way stranger. It's almost like the sun did it.
So how does this even happen? Well, he's at the beach with some friends, a fight breaks out, and then it seems like it's all over. Everyone's cooled down. But then Meursault does something that makes no sense at all. He just turns around and walks back to that same spot, alone, right back towards the danger. And the craziest part, he doesn't even seem to know why he's doing it.
And this is where the sun stops being just the sun. It becomes a character in the story, an antagonist. It's not just background scenery. It's this oppressive, physical thing. Camus says it's throbbing, pressing on him. At this point, Meursault isn't really thinking. He's just feeling this intense pressure pushing him forward. And then it happens. The other guy pulls out a knife, but Meursault isn't reacting to the threat of the knife. He's reacting to the light glinting off the steel. It's like a total sensory overload, this long flashing blade cutting at his forehead. The whole world just melts away into this one blinding, painful sensation. And then, almost like a knee-jerk reaction, the trigger gave.
One shot, then a pause, and then four more, into a body that's already motionless. You know, that first shot, you could maybe argue it was an accident, a reflex. But those next four, that's different. They're totally deliberate and totally meaningless. And those four shots are what really seal the deal. As he puts it, it was like knocking 4 quick times on the door of unhappiness.
So, let's move on. We're in the second half of the book now, and the scene shifts from that blinding beach to a stuffy courtroom. And it becomes obvious really fast that Meursault isn't actually on trial for murder. Nope, he's on trial for being himself.
The prosecution's whole strategy is brilliant, in a twisted way. They barely talk about the shooting. Instead, they put his entire character on trial. Every little thing he did is twisted and used as evidence against him. His calmness at his mom's funeral, proof he has a criminal heart. That date with his girlfriend the next day, lack of remorse. You see? He's not being judged for what he did, but for what he didn't feel, or at least what he didn't show.
And this line from the prosecutor, it's the knockout punch. The murder itself almost gets forgotten. The real crime, the thing that actually shocks and horrifies the jury, is that this man didn't cry at his own mother's funeral. That's it. He is condemned because they've decided his soul is just empty.
And when they finally ask him why, looking for a motive they can wrap their heads around, like money or jealousy, Meursault just tells them the plain, honest truth. It was because of the sun.
And you can just imagine the courtroom. To them, it sounds like the crazy ramblings of a monster. The gap between his world and their world is just impossibly wide.
So he's found guilty, condemned to death. He's in his cell, just waiting. And it's here, staring death right in the face, that he finally starts to figure it all out. He solves the mystery of his own life.
So a chaplain comes to visit him, right? Tries to offer him comfort, talk about God, the afterlife, the usual stuff. And Meursault just wants none of it. He completely rejects it. He's lived his whole life without needing some higher power or promise of what comes next, and he's not about to start lying to himself now just to feel a little better before the end.
And he just explodes. In this massive burst of anger, he basically screams at the chaplain that all those certainties that society clings to, they're totally worthless. And in that moment, he realizes something huge. He realizes that he's been right all along, that his strange, detached life was actually true. He was right to just live in the moment, to feel the sun, because in the end, that's all there is.
So what's the takeaway from all this? This brings us to the big idea, freedom in absurdity. Because it's right here, at the very end, that Meursault stops being just an outsider and becomes what Camus himself called an absurd hero.
Okay, so what is the absurd? It's actually a pretty simple idea at its core. It's this fundamental conflict, this clash between us humans who are constantly looking for meaning and purpose in everything, and a universe that is just silent. It offers no meaning, no purpose at all. The absurd is what happens when those two things smash into each other.
And Meursault is the perfect hero for this idea because he doesn't fight it. He just lives it, naturally. He doesn't invent fake hopes for himself. He doesn't believe in some grand destiny. He just accepts the world for what it is, a bunch of moments that don't have any built-in meaning. And by doing that, by letting go, he finds this really weird and powerful kind of freedom. And that's where he lands. It's his final revelation. He stops fighting everything and just accepts it. He looks at the universe, sees that it's completely indifferent to him. It doesn't care if he lives or dies. And he realizes, hey, that's just like me. He feels a connection to it. And in that moment, in this totally meaningless world, he finally feels like he's home.
So that brings us all the way back to where we started. Who is this guy? Is he a monster? Is he a victim of a society that doesn't understand him? Or is he some kind of weird hero? Was he condemned for the murder? Or was he condemned for having the guts to live without any illusions in a world that has no meaning? The book doesn't give you an easy answer. And maybe that's the whole point.